Welcome, everybody, once again to your Thursday, coming to you a little late edition of the Straub Bros Sports Show. Big bro Ken Straub, little bro Andrew Straub. Your fault we're late today. College things, being a big guy. Professor decided to move the class on you and move it up. So apologize, everybody, but we're here. No worries. The bros are here. Let me put the banner up, get the ticker up. Let's get rolling. So first things first, as everybody knows, 216 Sports Network. You have the lineup. You know what it is. New episode of Outside Interference dropped this week. Mel sat down with Ronnie Rotten and EFW. The second episode of the Jay Rich Show has dropped. Go check that out. He talked about the Cavs outlook as we get towards the All-Star break and some Eastern and Western Conference breakdown. Multiple episodes of the Rulers Minute have dropped this week, and I'm going to bring this down because I'm gonna have some fun with this one. So multiple episodes have dropped. We got a Tristan Thompson's in trouble episode. We've got an episode about Josh Allen too. But my favorite episode so far of the year has dropped, and that is where Rico breaks down on the Rulers Minute how people from Maple Heights, Bedford Heights, Warrensville, Cleveland Heights are not from Cleveland. Okay, one more time, not from Cleveland. Shout out to the Kelsey brothers. We appreciate you. You're from Cleveland Heights. So there's that. As always, past episodes of Crunch Time. And of course, why you're here today, the Straub Bros Sports Show. Welcome in, everybody. I see some comments jumping off. I'm clicking back and forth between two screens today. Mama asked where we was. Mama, we was running late today, but we're here.
Is that a surprise? I feel like we always run late anyways.
Of course.
Just me this time.
It was you this time. Like I said, 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth, the Jay Rich Show, Rico McGee with the Rulers Minute, Outside Interference with Mel, and occasionally me and Bob, and the Straub Bros Sports Show. Oh, here we go. Yes, here we go, Pops. Because I said I had a good one for him. But he doesn't actually know what I'm talking about. But it's all good. Let's see. Follow us on the 216 Sports Network. Follow us on the Facebook page. Follow us on the YouTube page. Hit the playlist. We're here. So, other things to get, and I'm going to probably piss Little Bro off. I'm going to break some news on the pod that he does not actually know that I'm about to break for the world. Yes. I'm going to tell people now so you can be a part of the journey. Okay? I want you a part of this journey with us. It's a family program. Okay? Are you ready? And he's going to be pissed because the reason this is not done is because of me. But coming soon, probably within a week to 2 weeks, I don't want to say a month, but it may stretch out. You will be able to find the Straub Bros Sports Show on Spotify and Apple. Yes, one more time. You are going to be able to download and take the Straub Bros Sports Show with you on Spotify and Apple. Audio, potentially video as well, not 100% sure. So you can get with it when you're in the car, when you're at work, when the boss is around, you got to throw the headphones in. You can still rock with the Straub Bros, but we still want you here at 5 o'clock with us live or 5:15 to rock with us in the comments because you can't do that when you download and, some other things too. Also, while we're here, beard shout. As you see, my guy Straub is unshaved. I am unshaved as well. We're going to give a shout out to our Pops. Normally, Pops grows a beard out until pitchers and catchers report. Unfortunately, Pops had to shave his beard and trim it up way before he was ever supposed to. So we're growing our beards out. Normally, Straub trims his up, but me and Straub got ours locked in. We're going to grow them out for another week or two until pitchers and catchers report. So, Pops, we got you. We're holding you down on that one.
We'll see. Depending on how good I look, I might take it a little longer. We'll see.
You look good here. I mean, this is always a good beard for me, but
you always let it grow out. I usually get it a little thin.
It's a good look for you. I'm doing socials. Any more news? Other than I know I need to get, and of course we rock with you, love you, Pops, of course. Also, I mean, and I know I need to get the stuff together for this Apple and Spotify thing to go. I saw you eye roll on the side there. But anything else before we get rolling? AKA, let me do socials.
No, listen, we got a bunch of news. Honestly, a lot of news that came in like a day or two before this podcast is coming up. So a lot of new information, a lot of stuff that we're one of the first to hit. And I'm really excited to talk about a lot of the stuff, especially when we get into the weekend recap, but also later on in the show, because like we got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, we do. All right, we're going to do it. We're going to hit it first. All right, let's do it. Your news and notes. Jim Harbaugh. Of course, we're going to talk about it. It's the biggest coaching news in the world right now. Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan. OSU fans rejoice. He is leaving for the LA Chargers. The team he quarterbacked for 2 seasons, I'd like to point out. Here's the thing, man. I don't care what you want to say about Jim Harbaugh. He's been successful as a coach. Okay.
Mhm.
So why, if you're the Chargers organization, why not see who's got it better than us? 44-19-1 with the 49ers. Drew, your first impressions about Jim Harbaugh leaving and going to the Chargers?
Yeah, listen, if you're a Chargers fan, I think you were really happy this week because you had 2 major coaching options in Jim Harbaugh and Bill Belichick to take on, and you got one of them. Like you said, 4 years with San Francisco, 44-19-1, Super Bowl appearance that was honestly really close and potentially could have won that one. And then he goes back to his alma mater and says, I'm going to make Michigan relevant again. 9 years there, 89-25, 3 Big Ten championships, and a college football playoff national championship. I'd like to say he got that job done. So the 2 places that he is head coached at, he has done really, really well. And I don't see an issue. I don't see another reason why the Chargers aren't loving this hire.
All he's got to do is fix the defense. All he's got to do is draft. All he's got to do is draft his own guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, which they had no problem with in either stint in San Francisco or Michigan.
I like it. What was the reason Jim was successful with the 49ers was because of his he got what he got out of Kaepernick and the quarterback play. When he lost his quarterback, that team fell apart and it wasn't really, really good anymore. When he got to Michigan, he never had a quarterback. When he finally got a quarterback who could play and a defense that was outstanding as well, Michigan took off. He has defenses in the NFL vary year to year, number one. However, they can be built. They can be built through the draft. They can be built through free agency. He has the quarterback already. Mm-hmm. Regardless of whether you think Justin Herbert is a little bit overrated, a little bit underrated, talked about too much. Listen, I'm a Cowboy and a Notre Dame fan. I don't want to hear about talk too much. But he's a top guy. He's a top 15 guy. I think he's a top 10. I think he's a top 5 guy personally. But different discussion for a different day. Where he can be. Harbaugh's got the quarterback. Now Harbaugh just has to turn around a defense. I think he can do that. I think this is a great pickup and a great hire.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think we'll see what happens here because obviously, 9 years out of NFL, a lot has changed in terms of, play styles and schemes and stuff like that. And also just the shift in the AFC NFC dynamic. And so it'll be interesting to see if there's any rust coming from, almost a decade out of the NFL.
100%. The counter I would have to that, and it's not a fair point to bring up, but I guess the counter for me would be we're not talking about Nick Saban. We're not talking about I don't want to use the dictator word, but a strong presence. Not that Harbaugh isn't, but it's a very much, it has to be my way and it has to be this way or you're not going to be here. Where in the NFL now, one of the complaints is the coaches have to be players, guys, and they have to. Harbaugh can be that. So he was like that in his original stint in the NFL. He was obviously like that in college, and he's going to bring that back. So it's a skill set that transitions. That's going to be the thing, and that's the thing people hate. I want to bring some. Are you any other points on this before we move on to the other big coaching?
I just think it was a great hire, and so we'll see what happens.
Ohio State fans rejoice. You better break that streak now, okay? I'm just saying. Although I do want to point out, and I said this and I brought this up, this can be one of your TikToks that you don't want to make for me. We talked about it, and I specifically said one of the biggest strengths of Michigan was it felt like at all times there was like 3 to 4 head coaches on that sideline. They're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Did they elevate the defensive coordinator yet? Did they elevate?
They just did.
Okay, I was going to say, that's the guy who should have got the job. He took over for Harbaugh. It's a clear thing there. So I'm glad for him. Shout out to him. But yeah, I think Michigan will be okay. Ohio State, there you go. Before we
No
get back,
excuses now.
no, not at all. But before we get back to Ohio State, I want to jump over to some hoops real quick. The Milwaukee Bucks have fired Adrian Griffin after 43 games, a 30-3 overall record. That's the Bucks, second in offensive efficiently. However, this year they've gone from 4th to 22nd, which is, I think, pretty obvious to everybody when you swap Dame Lillard for Drew Holiday. I love Dame. I'm all about some Dame time, okay? But he's a liability sometimes on defense. So you have that. Let's talk that first, then we'll get back to Dad knows. No excuses, OSU. But we'll get back to that because we're going to talk about Ohio State in a second, and we're going to get to who's now in with the Bucks. But quickly, the firing of Adrian Griffin.
Yeah, this one kind of just came out of nowhere. I guess in terms of, the public and everything like that. But, if we talk to, some of the inner workings and you kind of read up on, the inner, coaching staff and the front office of and even the players of the Bucks, this was kind of the writing was on the wall here, where you had a coach who had this incredible team that is poised to make another finals run, but the coach doesn't seem to be the guy that you want to lead that kind of team. If to look at our our 216 Sports group chat, it's very similar to the first time that LeBron came back with Kevin Love and Kyrie, and you have this coach, David Blatt. Yeah, Blatt. Yeah, where he seemed like he was in too much over his head with this, very experienced roster, and he didn't seem to be able to kind of manage these top tier talents. And I think this is a very similar case here. But now, similar to how the Cavs went to Ty Lue, the Bucks now.
I'm gonna stop you there. Yeah, and here I'll throw up Dad's quote. What up, Doc? Mm-hmm. Doc Rivers has been hired. First of all, I agree with everything you said. Before we get too far into Doc, and that's my bad. I want to shout out Jay of the Jay Rich Show in our 216 group chat, because he had mentioned that even when he was asking Griffin questions, he kind of just didn't seem to always handle them well. And listen, this is a shark. These are sharks in a very small pool. Okay, part of being a good coach is also being able to handle personalities and media and stuff like that. So we don't know what happened on the inside of that locker room. We really don't know. Man, did you see them dancing last night though?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, like, if you didn't, the Bucks were going during pregame warmups or when they were doing the announcements and all that. The whole team was in its circle. The whole team was going in. The whole team was dancing. I mean, the vibe is clearly different. So, okay. I mean, that's clearly, and this is what's unfair. Whenever we make a coaching move or anyone makes a coaching move, it's automatically put on the star players or the players. However, usually they're losing. When a team is winning, clearly the guys on the inside of that locker room are telling whoever is in charge, hey, I know we're winning. We're winning in spite. We need to make sure we get somebody better in here so we can be better. That is actually okay, but because we blame players for all of that, we can't actually have an honest conversation about that. Because, I 100% believe that Dame and Giannis walked into the owner's suite and were like, this ain't working, man. It's not cutting it. And that's okay. And I'm not reporting that. I'm not saying Jay. I'm just that I think that is what happened. It's more than likely happened, and that's okay. But it's not allowed to be anymore. But I do want to point out Doc is in. A crap ton of winning. 16 winning seasons, 9th all-time in wins, 4th all-time in playoff victories with 111. Hailing from I was about to go full Bruce Buffer on you. I don't know. I feel like I feel like they can't fix the mistake of firing Budenholzer, and now they're just reaching. I mean, Doc, 10 straight Game 7 losses, 5 in a row. Or I'm sorry, 10 Game 7 losses, 5 in a row. 9 straight losses with a chance to get to the conference finals. I don't know. I understand Doc's a good coach, but I know I'm rambling here.
The reason why I compared it to Ty Lue is in the sense of when Ty Lue stepped in, the main consensus was this is a coach that is obviously going to have a game plan, obviously is very smart, but he's also going to allow the players to be more free in their movement in their shots and things like that. And I think that's very similar to what Doc provides. Is he's getting a little older. He's not a coach that's going to move chess pieces around to try to get an advantage. He knows he has an amazing team that should make the finals, if not for Boston. But so Doc is, I think, going to be one of those coaches where he comes in, he allows the players to be themselves and doesn't make them restrict to a very rigid system, but also has some of these qualities that maybe, the previous coach did not have, just because he has the experience of how many to take on the personalities, to take on the press, all of that kind of stuff. And I think maybe not in a massive leap in terms of, positive, but I think there is some leap there because I think he fits what the Bucks need at this moment in time.
They need Nick's comment caught me off guard, and so I want to put it up there because it's a good point. Why does he never hang on to a job? He does. He gets handed these huge, these talented teams, and it's because, number one, I think it's fair to point out, a lot of these guys, and I don't want to put a percentage on it, but I want to say 90 plus, they respect Doc. They really, really do. So that's number one. You bring Doc in because you're like, all right, I need a veteran coach. I need a guy who's going to stand up to players, not take their crap. I mean, I'm not trying to disparage either two guys, but Dame and Giannis are strong locker room personalities. Giannis can come off very whiny and crybaby sometimes, and I love the Greek Freak. I do. Dame is kind of sometimes quiet and can be aloof and kind of be not always not locked in, but not always kind of very transparent with how he feels and what's going on sometimes. So yeah, you need a guy who's going to come in and manage them on the personality wise. You need a guy who's going to come in and get them better defensively. The problem is, and I'll be honest, you're also bringing them in because if you're going to do the coast through the regular season and we're going to turn it on come later in the playoff times, you're going to have somebody who commands and respects the locker room as well. But I am going to say this is why I question it because of what Nick said.
I will say, though, I think the only difference between those other bloated teams and this team here is that when usually Doc comes in, he's hired on either right before or immediately after they trade for a bunch of these stars, and his job is to meld that team together. And sometimes that doesn't work. But in this case, this team is already joined. This team has been together for a bit. Dame was added in, but it seemed that was a pretty seamless transition. And so Doc doesn't need to, mend anything. He just needs to guide the boat to the finals. He doesn't need to build the ship. And I think that's the difference.
And I agree. I think the problem is what's going to happen? When it's game 6 and the Bucks were already up 2-1 or 3, there's some history there of that stuff happening. So we'll see what happens though. It's early on. Cavaliers are looking good without Garland and Mobley right now. As you know, on a hot streak.
Unfortunately, ran into that Bucks team last night.
Ooh, right. And yeah, Dame time happens. We got him was it last week when they played without Giannis, but that's going to happen. So I'm not about to sit here and pontificate on we have big words this week on the NBA because I have not been able to watch a lot. So that's why you and everyone else need to jump over when you're done here and check out the Jay Rich Show because Jay is breaking down everything that we are not in terms of the NBA. So definitely jump over there. Now, old man on the pod in terms of big brother over little brother is about to go on a rant. Oh, no. I apologize. No, I'm not. Stay tuned, though.
We're going to hold it.
Yeah, because I'm going to let you jump in here about some Ohio State news. Bill O'Brien. Mitt O'Brien has been hired as the Ohio State University.
It makes me cringe every single time you say that, dude.
We can do cringe stocks, okay? I can be the T-Post guy. Can I be the T-Post guy?
That is also like 5 years ago. Good Lord.
The English kid. Whatever. Moving on. Mitt O'Brien has been hired as Ohio State's offensive coordinator. Bro, talk to me about it, and talk to me about the outstanding week and a half Ohio State has had in the transfer portal.
Yeah,
recruiting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, initially, Bill O'Brien. obviously, head coaching experience in Houston. Um, didn't go too well, but they had a really good run before, he went crazy and blew it all up. But then went to the Patriots for their offensive coordinator and honestly got the best out of that team because that offense was poo-poo garbage.
Awful.
But before that,
hold
we
on.
always forget.
It's and we're gonna use it on the pod because I always told him we're gonna steal it. It's garbage truck juice. That offense was garbage truck juice.
But before that was the offensive coordinator at Alabama under the Saban tree, and absolutely revolutionized that offense. That offense was absolutely ridiculous the entire time he was there. Sure, Dad. Every single time,
It's why no one likes y'all. It's why no one.
It didn't take me until I left being an Ohio State fan to realize that. However, they did also. So we'll see how we'll see how Bill O'Brien does with that offense. I think they needed a change in offense anyway, so I think that's a good idea. However, they do also get some extra boost during this week. Julian Sayin, the Alabama quarterback behind, I'm losing his name right now.
That's fine. What was Jalen Milroe?
Yes. Has transferred to Ohio State, which is pretty interesting because now you have Julian Sayin, who really hasn't played much college football, and the leading touchdown record holder at Kansas State, Will Howard, also at Ohio State. And so that's building up to be a very interesting quarterback battle because I'm interested if Julian Sayin is transferred for a starting position or if he is also willing to wait it out, because it would very much seem that Will Howard is the front runner considering his experience, and he wouldn't transfer to Ohio State just to get a backup role with Julian Sayin. So that's a little interesting there. And then finally, they got another Alabama transfer, safety Quishon Judkins. Absolutely insane, amazing playmaker. And so Ohio State, I mean, we always knew that they were very good in recruiting, but now pretty much killing it on the transfer portal. And I think we're finally starting to see Ryan Day and the Ohio State program put an emphasis on it, which I think is a very good idea.
Coach Prime glasses time. Tapping full college football. No bleeping excuses, Ohio State. Harbaugh's gone. That defense is mostly gone. You reloaded, like I said. Don't worry about Marvin Harrison Jr. Don't worry about some of these guys. Go reload like you're supposed to. And you did that. No excuses. Beat Michigan. That's it. That's all I got on that one. Now, we got some news that I missed, but I want to shout out to my guy. See, this is why you come in the chat. You throw stuff out, we're going to talk about it. And that is, shout out Tommy Reese, because he has been brought in to help the Cleveland Browns. Yes, the Cleveland Brownies. They are reportedly working on a deal. I think that would be a great snag for the Cleveland Browns. I'm a Tommy Reese guy. He is the only Notre Dame quarterback that I've ever had the privilege of watching in person. That's not a bias. That's not why I love Tommy Reese. I thought he was a great offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. I was beyond upset when we lost him to Alabama, and he struggled in Alabama, but I don't think that was his fault. But I think that would be a good hire for the Browns if they pick up Tommy Reese. I really do. I really, really think that would be a good hire. Anything to throw in there? Because now it's time for my baseball rant.
No, I was going to say, I think you know pretty much more than I do on that, but I trust you there. And I think, honestly, I think that, we're looking for a new offensive style. We're looking for new people. And so bringing in people, that have a really good background and a really good, coaching ladder, I think is a good idea. And obviously, we're going to keep hiring people and we got more people to hire. So I'm excited.
Nobody shows off your useless bowl game swag more than me, baby. Let's go. That Tony the Tiger Bowl. We stomped it this year. Okay. I'm glad everybody's here. It's time for a baseball rant. The Baseball Hall of Fame was announced this week, literally a couple days ago. And we have 3 guys going into the Hall of Fame. 3 deserving members going into Hall of Fame. They are Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer, all selected this year. Learn to speak. Adrian Beltre, a 21-year vet, 400 home runs, 3,000 hits, 5 Gold Gloves, only 4 other players. Come on. Come on. I know. Nick just said meh. We're gonna let that go. You can put that up. I'm over here. The third
put that up just so everyone can see.
The third highest WAR ever among third basemen. Now, if you don't know what WAR is, well, that would be wins above replacement, and that would be if you took that player out, what would an average player do in his position? So basically, how many wins is that player worth? I can't get the comment back down. My screen's all there. We go. Hold on, Nick. Don't you worry. Don't put that comment up yet. But not just so. I mean, third highest WAR ever, guys. Adrian Beltre. That's a no-brainer for me. Joe Mauer, Cleveland fans, you are very familiar with that man because he played his entire 15-year with the Minnesota Twins, 06, 08, and 09 batting titles, the only catcher to win 3, a 09 MVP, a 306 career average, and like I said, a career Minnesotan, a career Minnesota Twin. Big shout out to Joe Mauer. You can't. I always respected Joe Mauer. You have to. Your last, not least, Todd Helton, a career 316 hitter, 2,519 hits, 369 home runs, 1,406 RBIs. I know we don't care about RBIs anymore. Screw you. I care about RBIs. 3 Gold Gloves. Now, voting wise, Adrian Beltre, 95.1% a first ballot guy. I'm glad we have finally got off of our high horse. Yeah, I know Todd Helton was in course. But I mean, when you add that all in, I mean, that's a Hall of Fame career. I'm sorry. Because guys have played that long in Colorado and not put up those numbers. But Adrian Beltre, 95.1% on a first ballot. We used to get angry because, Babe Ruth wasn't a first ballot guy, and to Mickey Mantle, who cares? All right, Adrian Beltre is a Hall of Famer. Joe Mauer, Todd Helton, 79.7, 76.1%. I've got no beef here. I really don't. Congratulations to all 3 guys. I think they deserve to be Hall of Famers. Billy Wagner, relief pitcher, just missed out. The cutoff is 74%, I think, or 75, 73.8%. But there's there. Anything, you go ahead, please. Have the floor for a second because I'm going to be a minute.
So congratulations to all those guys. Like you said, I think very deserving.
Don't mention anyone who got snubbed yet.
No. I'm not going to talk about snubs. I have a little bit of a beef on how the selection process goes. I think more in terms of the amount of time you can be on the ballot.
Yeah.
And because I think that, in extenuating circumstances, when we look 30, 40 years ago, there's a different perspective on how guys are looked at than initially when they got first put on the ballot. And I think that, having a guy that's, on there and then can never be on it again, I think is a little disingenuous because I think that perspectives change. And I think that guys maybe we didn't initially consider to be a Hall of Famer, I think down the line, I think should be considered. And I think that's just stupid in general. Yes. The second thing that I think you're going to touch on as well is the ability of MLB to just say that an entire period of time that players, regardless of steroids that they took, absolutely changed the game and did things that even without steroids, they probably would have done and had a Hall of Fame career back at a time where if you were a batter and let's say you were taking steroids, you were probably facing a pitcher that also was taking steroids.
Yeah.
And so to basically tell these guys that all of their accomplishments mean nothing because of doing something that at the time MLB wasn't concerned with.
Not at all.
and also having people
and here
that are in the Hall of Fame that are
I'm gonna put a
known
name
to
to
be
it.
taking. Well, hold
And
on.
okay, go ahead.
We'll get you there. And also having people that are in the Hall of Fame that are known to be taking steroids as well. I think that is something that is very disrespectful to these players, just because they started caring about it right before they were able to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I think that is very, very disingenuous.
Not necessarily, Dad. Like it's not. It's still cloudy. Either, and I'm gonna copy Bill Simmons. Either put an asterisk wing in for all of these guys. Don't let any of them in, or get the hell off your high horses and get over it.
Mm-hmm.
I am with the get off your high horses and get over it. I am assuming you're also talking about Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, guys like that. I agree. Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. Roger Clemens is a Hall of Famer. They were cheating. Everyone was cheating. There was only a couple guys who weren't cheating. I'm sorry for those guys. If they still had Hall of Fame careers, thank goodness, put them in. I'm sorry. This is the steroid era. It is what it is. I'm sorry. It is what it is. We're going to go through in 20 years and look back at this era of the NFL as inflated offense era, and you couldn't touch the quarterback era. We already look at this NBA as a soft era, and these guys, it's the 3-point line and the 3-point shot, and guys are we talk about these eras all the time. It's time to just accept this was the steroids era in baseball. These guys deserve to go in. Now, that's not exactly, one guy potentially, but that's not exactly what I was talking about. But yes, Barry Bonds should be back on the ballot. Barry Bonds should just be in. Roger Clemens should be on the ballot. Roger Clemens should be in. I don't know who else you want to throw in there. Did Astros get an asterisk? I mean, we can do an entire show on that. You're absolutely bleeping right. They deserve an asterisk, but that's a different.
To everyone in the MLB that isn't the MLB, it's an asterisk.
What did I tell you when you texted me or when I texted you that Michael Brantley retired? I sent you middle fingers. Sorry, dude. I'm out. I'm good. You're all some cheaters, and you're all a part of it. But Hall of Fame wise, so those are guys that should be back on the ballot. Now, get off my lawn. First things first. Andrew Jones, okay, is a damn Hall of Famer, okay? 254 average, yes, I know. 434 home runs, 1289 on the RBIs, 823 OPS, okay? But WAR is a great stat for baseball. It's something that we already talk about, okay? Now, what we said, WAR for an average field player is 2, okay? So the average fielder will bring you 2 wins, okay? These are Andrew Jones's WARs. 3.2 in his second year. And then we have 7-1, 6-8, 8, 6-3, 6-5, 5-4. Never had a year under 2.8. I know we're getting nerdy baseball stats. Hang on, okay? Other than his first year and his last couple years when he was hanging on, playing with other teams, and he was a shell of himself, okay? During those 10 years in Atlanta, you cannot name me 3 players who were better defensive center fielders than Andrew Jones. You can name maybe 1, you can maybe give me 2, and then 3 or 4 is Andrew Jones. I don't care what you say. That has to mean something in the Hall of Fame. Okay? And it was an Atlanta team that won. It wasn't like they were bad. Andrew Jones is a Hall of Famer. That's number 1. My guy Nick hit it spot on. I want it back up here. Gary Sheffield. Okay? Gary Sheffield, and I was about to cuss, is a damn Hall of Famer once again, okay? 63.9% in his last year. Once again, this should not be a last year. Guys should be able to be on the ballot for longer. Let me throw out some Hall of Fame numbers for Gary Sheffield. 2689 on the hits, 509 home runs. That still means something. I don't care how many guys are in the 500 home run club. 500 still means something. And just like, and reputation matters. This is the Hall of Fame. It isn't just numbers. Andrew Jones is one of the best defensive center fielders of all time. Gary Sheffield is one of the most feared power hitters of all time and has one of the all-time top 5 batting stances in the entire world. I have no idea if that can be part of the criteria, but damn it, it should be. It should be. Okay. Listen, I tried to swing like that and got yelled at so many times. Like, what are you doing? So I wasn't good at baseball. Gary Sheffield is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more.
Yeah, I know. And this will be
Yeah, Cleveland fans. Yes, the best. Thank you. Thank you. The best stance. Okay. Give me some credit for that point. All right, one more, Cleveland fans. We just talked about it. It's not just stats. Because I'm going to give you some, but it isn't just stats. If you are the best at something, okay, or the second best at something in the entire history of a sport, okay, at some point, if it's that big of a category, it should make you a Hall of Famer. Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame committee. It is a sham and a travesty that Omar Vizquel is not a Hall of Famer. This is not a homer take. He is, without doubt, if not first, the second best defensive shortstop in the history of a game that has been played since the 1800s. You can argue that Ozzie Smith is better. I'd argue he's not. Okay? I don't care. Okay? He was the best, if not the second best shortstop defensively of all time. I don't care if Omar Vizquel went up to the plate and struck out every single time that he ever had an appearance at bat, and he should still be a Hall of Famer for the defense that he played. And this is a baseball thing only. If we induct a safety, we don't worry if he had interceptions if he was the best tackling safety ever. If he couldn't tackle a lick and could only make interceptions, he'd be Deion Sanders and he's still a Hall of Famer. If a defensive lineman could only sack the quarterback but was great at it and couldn't stop the run, he'd still be a Hall of Famer. But for some stupid-ass reason in baseball, you have to be a 17-tool player and blah, 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 blah. And I appreciate all of my guys and my mama and my pops. Like, this is no brainer for me. Okay. Now, no. Hall of Fame. Put Omar back on the ballot. Vote him in. Make one of your committees vote him in. Hey, when a guy is this, that's it. Hall of Fame, you suck. For not just Omar Vizquel, but Clay Matthews of the Cleveland Browns. Signed sincerely, the city of Cleveland.
I will say that was I love that. I love that. That might be the first TikTok we do. We'll see. But I agree with everything you said. I just want to add one more thing. And I feel like I have to say it because I'm in the city of Cincinnati. I have attended a Reds home opener. I have been to many of Reds games.
Oh, wow.
Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
Whoo! You know what?
I get it. I get it that he made a mockery of the sport and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. The all-time hit leader should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what anyone else has to say.
Hey, listen, I'm over it. Here's why I'm over it. And I don't want to hear that we can now bet on games. And betting is legal, so put Pete Rose in. Because no, everyone's argument is, well, don't bet on the game. You're not allowed to bet on the game. The integrity, the respect, blah, 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 blah. Okay? I almost called it something that Mel would have yelled at me for, but the old white man wants to tell you how to act. But the suspensions and the punishments for the actual players when they now bet on sports are less than year suspensions. They are games worth suspensions. So if you don't want to put Pete Rose in as a manager because of how much, we already knew that was coming, because we can see the comments before you guys. So we already knew that. I'll put it up while I do this so we can just argue while not arguing.
We've had this argument before.
Listen, the originator of the old man get off my lawn right underneath me. We differ on this one. If you don't want to put him in as a manager because of the betting, I understand that. You literally could influence what was going on. As a player, man, bleep you. If he did it now, he would get a 20-game suspension and he'd still be the hit king and we would move on and we wouldn't care. It was taboo back then. It wasn't okay. Put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. Give Reggie Bush his Heisman back. Give Andres Galarraga his perfect game no hitter. I don't care. I'm here for it. So I'm absolutely 100% with you on there, bro.
All right.
Hold on. And I want to make a joke. You already dishonored the game when you allow the umpires that you have in the game to blow and just completely mess games up like they have. But hi Mel. Barry Bonds. Shay, listen, I get it. Like you said, Barry Bonds had a Hall of Fame career pre-steroids. Pete Rose had a Hall of Fame career pre-manager betting. I'm here. Listen, I'm here for it. All right, everybody.
We're toning it down. We're toning it down.
And we're going to make fun of Ken. There is turmoil in Dallas. I don't know if you noticed. I did. Of course I did, because everybody else talked about it. My quarterback, my wide receiver, and my star lineman and defensive player, their families are going at it. It started with CeeDee Lamb's mom. You guys are ridiculous. Buckeye fans, man.
Give the Browns a divisional win over the Chiefs because it was a helmet to helmet that caused them to go into the thing. If we're just expanding everything,
that's fine. And I'm gonna do. Then it was a catch. Then it was a
catch.
Fine.
That's
okay.
Fine.
I don't even want to hear that. And number one, no Buckeyes, because you have the championship that you stole from Miami on that non-pass interference call. So you leave that one alone.
You're gonna get the comments heated right now. I don't know what you're doing over there.
Listen, I don't listen. Buckeye Nation, I don't care about your delusion right now. I really don't. Okay. I got 6 months to get ready and prepare and smack talk for now. So I'm not here for that. But CeeDee Lamb's mom responded that basically Dak ain't it. Dak's brother then responded and said, if I could get Dak out of Dallas, I would. Or if I could get Dak to leave Dallas, I would. And then Micah Parsons' younger brother jumped in and said, basically, Dak better take $40 million and call it a day. Now all of the players, Micah Parsons then responded and said, that's clearly just the words of my brother. He doesn't speak for me, which I'm going to call bull, because if I went out and said something like that, well, never mind. We had a situation like that a couple weeks ago. Never mind. Sometimes brothers do actually overspeak and talk out of their butts, and when their other brother doesn't want that. Usually it's younger brother, not older brother. Love you. Yeah, there's absolute turmoil in my locker room. I love it. And you know what it means? It means one thing and one thing only. Dak has to go. CeeDee Lamb is top wide receiver in the league. Micah Parsons is not. Well, listen, I Browns fans, I got no beef with Myles Garrett being the defensive player of the year, but like it literally should be an AFC and NFC one, because they were both just monsters this year. The quarterback is the problem. When guys don't believe in the quarterback and they're throwing the quarterback under the bus, it's time for the quarterback to go. When the quarterback has proved that he can't show up in the playoffs and make clutch plays, and everything has to be laid out for you, Jared Goff-esque, you can't do that for the Cowboys, and that's just what it is. So I'm with Mama Lamb, and I am with Little Parsons, and yeah, Dak, you better take a team-friendly deal.
So this reminds me of something, and I think your response was very similar to the response of this. Coming off the playoffs after the loss to the Chiefs, as I mentioned, we go into the offseason and we trade for a one Odell Beckham Jr. Hype is very high. Hold on. Hype is very high.
I'm going to punch you.
Hype is very high. Then Baker Mayfield tears his shoulder and proceeds to obviously play at a very lower level. This leads to Odell Beckham Jr.'s father posting videos of how Baker cannot throw the ball to Odell. And this went into a massive uproar. Browns fans were split, saying it was Odell that needs to leave, saying that it was Baker that needs to leave. But in the end, both players left with I would say Baker getting more of the raw end of the deal on this. So all I'm going to say is, while I understand your viewpoint on this, sometimes you get what you wish for, but sometimes that's not what you need. And that's all I'm going to say on that.
That was like the worst way to try to quote that.
The Rolling Stones thing, that's
Yeah,
not what I was getting at. I was just
you were
rolling off
close. You were
what I
close.
said.
Listen, sometimes you get what you listen. I disagree. He's got to go. I'm done with it. I'm over it. I think we're all over it. Cowboys Nation is over it. I love you, Ray Dakota Prescott. Okay, I lobbied. It was one of the names I threw in when we were naming Landon. It was obviously an absolute no go, but it was worth a shot, right?
Rain's an interesting name.
Yeah. Well, okay. Moving on. We've got some more news. Let's do this one first. I think this is a quick one. Well, not a quick one. The Rock, if you smell, has joined the USC WWE TKO group on their board. Because The Rock does everything he can to be in the middle of everything possible, and I'm here for it. Whatever, that's fine. I got no problem getting
all
back.
about the money, baby. And I think he'll be fine. He is always a guy that I think has good promotional ideas and can get stuff going. And he's also a big face that'll get him people. So,
and with some of the news that broke about Vince McMahon today, it's probably a good idea to have somebody else on the face of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ray. If you smell. Also, in 2025, Raw is Netflix. Raw will be streaming live on Netflix. I mean, that's dope. Listen, I'm a lifelong.
I don't know how that works, but sure.
I missed the WWE Network. It was a great thing when it came out. I don't mind that it. Right. I agree with Jay. He's a goat. He's a goat. Not a wrestling goat, but he's a goat in personality. There's only few. Listen, when I tell you to ask, if I ask an average person to name a wrestler, it's Ric Flair, it's The Rock, it's Hulk Hogan. Those are the three.
Yeah. Okay. I get you. I don't know if many people know Ric Flair, if I'm being completely honest.
Way more people know Ric Flair than you think. I'm just saying.
Okay.
I'm just saying. But yeah, I get it. Raw is Netflix. The Rock is Netflix. Let's go. And listen, new Rock show coming to Netflix within 2 years, for sure. Or the show his Rock show, I say, will be moving over though. So we'll see. All right, moving on. Coco Gauff has made it. Oh, Jay, no, ain't no disrespecting to The Rock. I just wrestling GOAT, Rock, Stone Cold Taker. I'm here for it. I mean, there's Ric Flair. There's a little Dusty Rhodes, baby. Don't get me started. You got to bring some old guys. Dusty Rhodes is on the Mount Rushmore just because I can do the accent, baby, and just because I can and I can tell you about hard times, baby. Losing all the viewers, they're like, "What in the hell?"
Yeah, like we're off the rails today.
Absolutely. It's about to go real wrestling talk real quick. And no, because actually, hold on. I know. Listen, the Dusty Rhodes, I take that one. For my Dusty impression, I will take the head slap. I do have one issue with that. No way Shawn Michaels ain't up on that list. But that's another topic. That's another topic for another day. Roddy Piper. There you go, Dad. Wow. Moving on. The wrestling talk will derail this entire pod.
Yes, it will.
Coco Gauff had made it to the semis. She got bounced in the semis.
Straight sets.
Unfortunately, I wanted to that. I had Coco in. I was making you update. I wanted to do some Coco Gauff stuff. Either way, good to have her back rolling. Little minor setback. Should be all right. Okay. Thank you. Yes. I knew I'd get Jay back with that one. All right.
Dude,
completely threw him off.
Used to dance to Sexy Boy in my room as a kid. Like, come on.
A weird thing to say like that. I'm just saying. That was
Clip it. I don't care.
Pause. That was really weird to say like that. Okay. I'm going on another rant.
Oh God,
an emotional one this time. Austin 316 says, I told you, the wrestling conversation will derail this entire thing.
Yes, it will.
Taking that to the right. That's right. That one, man.
Oh, I'll do it right now. I don't care.
All right. So, well, you said I did it. That's why I was like,
no, I did it.
Oh, it definitely. Okay, to clarify, it definitely sounded like you said I danced to it in your room, and I was
no, I did it. I did it.
That's fine. I used to do the whole little thing, so I ain't tripping.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sports Illustrated is no more. As you see behind me, I have my Kobe Bryant and my special edition tribute issue of Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated is no more. They laid off all of their writers this week. An institution that was first published in 1954. It was a regular in the sports world, and I am going to do a little bit of reading because I had to write some of this down. I loved it. I always loved it. It Sports Illustrated holds a deep meaning for me, and it's not just about the magazine. Let's do the good stuff first before I get back to the emotional stuff. Regular segments. Who's hot, who's not. Whoever was hot in sports, it didn't matter what sport. Faces in the Crowd, a segment that honored amateur and high school athletes that I grew up wishing and praying that somebody was going to be watching one of these Bedford soccer games, that for my freshman year, sophomore year, we were getting our butts whooped. But man, my junior and senior year, somebody was going to catch one of those games and watch one of my defensive performances. And I was going to be in Faces in the Crowd. Never made it. Spoiler alert, never made it. But man, I wanted to be there. The point after, the back page that introduced me to writers like Rick Riley, who brought funny and serious writing and showed me that you can talk about serious stuff and find humor in the light in it, and also move people. It's why I want to do this. One of my biggest top 2 inspirations in wanting to be part of sports, that's Bill Simmons. Page 2 was a huge part of Sports Illustrated. You could be funny as hell. You could be a smart ass. You could have bias, but you could also put that away, give people your opinion, and be balanced and be in critical, smart sport discussions with your t-shirt on, but still have your fun and stuff like that. The swimsuit edition. I mean, we can be honest. It was a staple of Sports Illustrated. Okay, I didn't hang that one because I didn't know how everyone would feel about it, but I got one of those too.
Oh,
okay.
Whoa, we're getting banned now. All right, well,
yeah, probably. But Sportsman of the Century, Muhammad Ali. I mean, the stuff here, and I'm going to pull up a page real quick. And yes, I know reading on the pod is always great, but like some of the stuff that's just groundbreaking in terms of Sports Illustrated, your cover history. I want to give a little background there. Your top athletes to appear. And throw dad's comment up for me as I read this. Your top athletes in terms of appearances. Tom Brady, and these are ordered from least to Tom Brady, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, my guy Tiger Woods, and then your top 3, LeBron James, Muhammad Ali, and the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Your coverage by teams. The first, the Lakers. Second, the Yankees. Third, the Cardinals. The fourth, the Cowboys. Red Sox, Bulls, Celtics, Dodgers, the Reds, the San Francisco 49ers. By sport, baseball dominates. Football next. Soccer didn't make the top 10 there, bro. All good.
Shocker.
Right.
We're getting there. We're bringing it.
I'm bringing it. I thought that. Yeah. And I apologize because I am a good one. Father and sons who have appeared on SI. Archie and his sons Peyton and Eli. Calvin Hill and Grant Hill. Bobby Hall and Brett Hall. Bill Walton, Luke Walton. Jack and Gary Nicholas. Phil and Chris Sims. Dale and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Cal Ripken Sr. Cal Ripken and Billy Ripken. Matt and Mark McGuire. Drew and Balin Breeze. Boomer and Gunnar Silas. And Chuck and Cade Liddell. Tributes to Arthur Ashe, Len Bias, Dale Earnhardt, the ones I showed you of Kobe Bryant. I'm rambling. Just a staple of sports. But a personal note on that as well, and then I'll throw it to you, bro. Sports Illustrated brought together 3 generations and sometimes 4 generations of Straubs in a household. That would be me, my grandfather, and my dad, and sometimes a little bro here. I would read them. I would read them to you as a little guy, literally at the same age. I got emotional writing this, around the same age now as your nephew and my son is. Our grandfather had the subscription that in the sporting news, and Andy would read them, and then he'd slide them over to me that month or that week, and I would just dive in. I would soak it up. I lived that magazine. Sports was my whole life. It's always been our whole lives, and that magazine provided more conversation pieces, more sports arguments, more laughs, than I ever actually realized and sat down until I started to eulogize this because and you can kind of hear my voice. It brought back a lot of memories of our grandfather. Grandpa would be like, "Did you read that article?" And I'd have to go back because, of course, I just flipped through the stuff that I wanted to read, and I would have to go back and we would talk about it, or whoever it was, and the outlook on baseball this year, or the tribe, or a piece written up by a guy about a guy or a certain athlete, and between that, it was some people have the news and some people have a family dinner. We sat around and talked sports, and then our uncles would come in and our cousins would come over and they would read, or they would have read, and these little conversations would break into whole entire sports arguments between the whole family and stuff like that. So it was an important thing, not just in terms of sports, but in terms of family. And I can 100% say that I would not be doing this, and I would not have the love for sports that I have if it wasn't for Sports Illustrated. So yes, a very sad day in sports, and I love you.
Love you there. You obviously touched on the family aspect, obviously a big part of all our lives when it came to family. But in terms of me, it also really helps just kind of day-to-day life because for those that don't know, I was a scrawny string bean more so than I am now when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, and a lot of I was just about to bring this up. The library at school always a bunch of books, but would always have these just stack of outdated Sports Illustrated magazines that all the kids would read and get together, during reading time and flip through the magazines when, we were supposed to be actually reading actual books. But always, it was one of those times where no matter where you came from, if you were, skinny, couldn't play sports, but you loved it, loved and played sports all the time, that was a magazine that got everyone together and you were able to really just bond over loving sports. And I think that's just a really big thing that no matter what part of your life you think about, sports always had some sort of involvement in it, and Sports Illustrated kind of impacted the sports world, millions and millions of people around the world for generations.
Hell yeah. Amen. All of that above. That was great. There's many clips this week, bro. All right, guys. The news took us an hour, but not as much to talk about live action. So, but let's get to it, bro. Ooh, the playoffs.
We got some good ones.
The playoffs. We absolutely did. First things first. The Ravens over the Texans. Lamar, 152 yards passing. What? Yeah, 16 for 22. 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, efficient, and then blew you up. 11 carries for 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns there. That was the difference. Lamar on the ground. And their defense. 5 QB hits, suffocating defense. CJ Stroud only goes for 152, no touchdowns. The Texans, 38 yards rushing.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the Texans did a great job limiting the Ravens' chances in the first half. However, this is a very different Baltimore team that we've seen over the past couple years, because when you watch the Ravens in the playoffs the past couple years, when they started to struggle, you saw Lamar change in his way that he went down the field, and that led to a lot of mistakes, interceptions, fumbles, stuff like that. But it seems like I think we've finally seen a maturity in this Baltimore team where they are going to be able to march down the field and know that even if they're not getting as many chances as they normally do, like in the regular season, they are going to stick with the plan. And that is what won them this game, is sticking with the plan in the second half, continuing to limit Houston offensively, and know that eventually the offense was going to start clicking. It did. And this is where we saw this happen.
Yeah. I mean, Baltimore's defense is in, because listen, you're not going to have the defenses that Baltimore had when they won those championships, because those defenses aren't allowed anymore. But you have a championship level defense with the best offense this Ravens team has had. Yeah, they're clearly like, and we see. So yeah, I no question, no doubt there. Moving on, the Chiefs 27, the Bills 24. The Bills have found their modern day Dallas Cowboy. Go ahead.
I feel like I should start this one. I'm going to let you finish your rambling there, but I feel like I should start this one off.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, to all the viewers out there, I already know what my brother is going to say here. My brother is going to blame the kicker on this, which is fair. But here's something that I think a lot of people aren't kind of getting here. You don't think Kansas City was going to get into field goal range with the amount of time that they had left with a minute and a half? Also, Josh Allen, amazing game, amazing playoff. You don't think that going for the home run on 2 straight plays instead of taking the easy first down throws, or Diggs letting Allen's absolute bomb, 60-yard bomb, go right through his hands made any bit of a difference? I get that he failed to do his job, and that is something that we always harp on. But so that did that entire Bills team when things got tough, which is exactly why they still cannot beat Mahomes and the Chiefs. And I think that is your difference maker. When the times get tough and when the chips are all down, Buffalo cannot finish, and the Chiefs can.
Get cliche on me because I'm about to blow it up in a turn.
And that is why the Chiefs continue to win.
Absolutely. So you're number one. You are correct. And this is funny because I'm going to get to put Ray's quote back up here in a second. I was going to talk about the kicker. Absolutely. I was going to talk about it last because there was an important note on the end of that too. But first of all, yes, the Bills have found their Dallas of the 90s, and it's the Chiefs, number one. Number two, if you haven't, and Ray and Nick are going to yell at me and they're going to laugh about this, but if you don't watch Get Up, go back and watch Get Up. I think it's Monday morning with Dan Orlovsky, and Rex Ryan, and Ryan Clark talk about the missed throws on those 2 downs, going for it, and what could have happened and what he should have done. So I'm with you there. Okay, like the whole team let down. However, Tyler Bass, do your damn job. Make the kick. Please put him in better position to make the kick, but damn it, make the kick. However, and I'm going to get this out of the way. For all of you sending him and his family death threats, you're clowns. You're sick. You shouldn't be allowed to watch. You shouldn't be allowed to watch sports anymore. You're terrible humans. You're terrible individuals. And I don't care that I'm in trouble now for calling you terrible humans. You're sending death threats over a football game or sports.
Get out of here.
You're terrible people. But Tyler Bass, do your damn job. Period. Okay. Mahomes. Oh, I love it. What did I tell you guys at the beginning of the playoffs? That'll be a TikTok too. To beat the man, you got to beat the man. Okay? And Ray, I didn't have it yet because we were coming back to wrestling. Okay? And the man has kicked out once again. Mahomes has hit another low blow and locked up another figure 4 for the tap out. Can I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair? Woo! Woo! Champion again. Listen, we're going to get to that in a second, but how many times are we going to count the Chiefs out? How many montages are all of us who talk about football going to end up on? The Chiefs can't win. The Chiefs are no good. The Chiefs are no good. And there's going to be me going, to beat a man, you got to beat the man. Talking about alligators, and you can't keep them on the ground. Okay? And nobody's going to know what I'm talking about. But whatever, I'll be right. Yeah. Sorry, Bills. See you next year. Moving on. Detroit Rock City. Tampa Bay 23. Detroit 31. Detroit Rock City on to the championship game after a good performance and a big one last week. Jared Goff, 287, 2 touchdowns. Baker, touchdown maker. Hell of an effort. 349, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I know we're going to get on a Baker tangent, but I got very annoyed with the slander on one interception because that's one interception. The other interception is Mike Evans' fault because apparently he catches like me now. Okay. But that's another story. Both these teams are very similar. Opportunistic defenses. They ask their quarterback to play within the offense. And when it's good, it's really good. And you have that. And when it's bad, it can be really bad. And basically, Detroit's defense made enough plays to let that offense make some more plays. And both guys managed. Detroit managed better. I know Rico is very, very happy, not because of Baker, because he's a Falcons fan and he hates Tampa Bay. I got no beef there. But yeah, Tampa Bay came up short. Detroit.
Yeah. I will say, though, another great game like this, other than the Baltimore game, but that was so good through a half. Really, really good divisional round games. Yeah, we talked about it. Baker with basically 1.5 interceptions, but the running game only had 15 touches for 89 yards. So obviously you were going to have to throw the entire time, which I think played into Detroit's hands the entire time. I will say that props to the Bucs, similar to the Packers that we're going to touch on, much further ahead of schedule than we all expected them to be. Very much a rely on your defense and then hopefully your offense comes around kind of team. But really, really well. Props to them. However, I want to talk a little about the other team.
Okay.
Detroit.
Come on.
They are very balanced offensively, have a really good running game, have one of, if not the best receiving core still in the playoffs. They come up on defense when it matters. They are playing with poise. They are not making mistakes. And San Francisco, which we will touch on, and I apologize, I must have not saved it when I changed the score, as you can see on the graphic. San Francisco is looking beatable.
Yeah.
So what I want to pose to you, is it possible? Is it possible?
Yes. 100%. 100%. We're going to talk about it because we're going to do a preview here, but yes. And because of all the reasons you're talking about, sometimes listen, and the script writers love a good story. We know, since we know sports is all rigged and we know none of this is real, it's all make believe. I know you got your copy a little late of the NFL playoff script. So remember everyone, none of this is real. I love those people who take that seriously. But yeah, absolutely Detroit can play with San Francisco. If Debo is not healthy and not fully there, and one little thing starts to go wrong for San Francisco, we've seen it snowball. So it's very, very, very possible. I do want to point a couple things out real quick. The last time the Detroit Lions were in the championship game, the number one song in the country, Michael Jackson's Black or White, followed by All for Love by Color Me Bad. MC Hammer had two songs in the top 7, Too Legit to Quit, and Adam's Groove.
Banger.
And sandwiched in between was Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. And the top grossing movie that week was Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
So
and a couple months later, Silence of the Lambs.
Real quick.
Yes.
That it was 91. For all the old people out there, because I want to make you feel as old as possible, I was -10.
You're such a dick for that.
Yeah, for everyone out there.
I mean, I was on 89. I don't know, 2 or 3. So yeah, I got you there. And people were playing on Game Boys in terms of and Sports Illustrated was doing well. Way to be a bummer, Ken. Way to bring the show back down. Okay. That other game. Oh yeah, I'm gonna have some fun, a little fun with this one. Packers 21, 49ers 24. Dear Lord, if Dak Prescott would have thrown that interception, what you people would be doing right now would be ridiculous. Okay, it was a bad throw, Jordan Love. Like,
It was a Brett Favre-esque
I was
throw.
gonna say that is as far as it gets, but I'm just saying what y'all would be doing. They bailed out a very average 49ers performance, leaning on the back of Christian McCaffrey's 2 late touchdowns. You brought it up. Championship weekend is upon us. We'll skip and we'll go right to the NFC first. We'll jump back. The 49ers cannot come into the championship game playing like that. Talk to me.
No. However, I do want to say a tradition almost as old as Dallas choking in the playoffs. The Packers losing to the 49ers is something we can always kind of get ready for. Just to put it in perspective, the last 9 playoff appearances, they've been eliminated by the 49ers 5 times. So I just want to put that out there.
But sucks. Trust me, I know.
We'll talk about the NFC Championship. This is a put up or shut up game for the 49ers, if I'm being completely honest. Detroit has absolutely nothing to lose here. They are everyone's darlings. They are the NFL's darlings. They are running off of spite and biting kneecaps.
And if they lose, everyone will just cry for Detroit. No one will say they were disappointing.
No, and this is an amazing run that you always want to see. San Francisco, you were the 1 seed. You looked like the 1 seed when you were fully healthy all year. You have a massive advantage in, I think, just pure raw talent on both sides of the football. You have an amazing coach that is just super inventive and can get guys open and schemes. So this is on you. The pressure is strictly on the 49ers. And that is, I think, the big question. If they can handle the pressure, they will, I think, easily beat this Detroit team. If they cannot handle the pressure, this is going to go exactly how Detroit has won their other 2 games. They have capitalized, they've allowed their defense to come up big when it matters. And so that will be the biggest question. And I think it will be very obvious within the first 2 possessions of this game.
I don't disagree on anything right there. Here were my notes for this game. Number 1, can the Lions keep this magical run going? Because it is a absolute magical run. Like I got there. And I'm a little spiteful. I'm not going to lie. So Jordan Love, you got some slander. 49ers and 49ers fans. Okay? Can you win a Super Bowl for the first time since the 90s? Like you complain and you cry and you say that the Cowboys haven't done.
They've made it
twice. Okay, cool. And what have you won? Nada. Okay? You've been sitting at home watching the parade like me. So 49ers, put up or shut up. Brock Purdy is this guy. Brock Purdy, and he has been 100%. I got no beef there. I've been a Brock Purdy fan, okay? I've argued that the system thing is overblown. Of course he's a system quarterback. A lot of quarterbacks need to be in the system. That's okay. There's like 2 guys who are the system. His name's Lamar Jackson. His name's Patrick Mahomes. That's it. Everyone else needs a system. Even Justin Herbert, even Josh Allen, even Joe Burrow. Those guys need systems too. So get over that. And NFL Twitter, stop trying to troll Cam. Unacceptable. Another point for another day. But 49ers, everyone's hurt. Everyone is banged up. So I don't want to hear, but if we don't have this guy, screw you. Everyone is hurt. Put up or shut up.
Who do you got?
I'll be wrong just to not, because I'm not picking San Francisco. Detroit, Rock City, let's go. I'm here for it. Why not? Why not?
No, it's good.
I know you should pick San Francisco, but why not?
I was gonna say my Super Bowl picks are still in it, San Francisco and Kansas City. So I think I'm gonna stick with it. I think San Francisco, I think they're gonna stay healthy. They're at home. Detroit has not played an away playoff game the entire time, and they've been thriving off that Detroit crowd to kind of keep them going. And so I love Detroit. I want Detroit to win. My heart will be there for Detroit. My brain says that San Francisco, I think, will be a little too much. And I think it's a little too much of a challenge for Detroit, as they haven't really played a really good team in this playoff so far. So give me San Francisco.
First of all, love that comment. Like, for as
That's
much
fair.
as y'all,
That's fair.
Listen, I come on here and I take my licks about my Cowboys, okay? And I take the honest criticism and I give it myself. San Francisco, should be in the same category as Dallas. You have been there, not constantly, and you have choked in this position right here. Okay, so stop choking. Okay, depends on what Brock shows up 100%. Because if that Detroit defense can rattle him, Detroit's going to win the game. But San Francisco should.
No, I agree.
And guess what? You're right. You're the aerospace engineer for a reason. You use your stats and you make the very analytical, mindful, smart decision. And I go with my guts. Okay, and I go with the smell test and the eye test and stuff, stupidity like that. So yeah, moving on. The AFC Championship. Oh wait, you picked San Francisco. My bad. Chiefs and Ravens. Whose defense can last the longest? That's what she said. That's what she said. Pause. Can the Chiefs keep going, and they keep this rolling? Or is Lamar ready to not only silence the critics, but save us from an entire Super Bowl week of the Kelseys and Taylor Swift? Be careful what you wish for here, America.
I understand that. However, it's less for me just because I'm from Cincinnati. I'm loving the attention that we're getting, so I can't even be upset about it.
From Cleveland Heights own. From Cleveland Heights own.
We're not getting into this. We're not getting into this. So okay. I'm gonna tell you and tell the world what I told my friends when we were watching the Buffalo and Kansas City game. It was during the third quarter, and they said, "Who do you want to win?" And I said, "Well, if we're talking about just this game, I want Buffalo because Buffalo fans are great. They've also been through a lot of heartbreak, and I'm also tired of seeing Kansas City win all the time." And then I said, "However, if we are talking about a team that can beat Baltimore and take them out of the playoffs,"
the Browns fans coming out,
"I want Kansas City." And let me tell you why. With this win over Buffalo, Kansas City went into a hostile road environment and beat a very hot Buffalo Bills team when they are a team that has, until maybe the playoffs, has not looked like the Chiefs of the past couple years. That, on top of a pedigree of and knowing how to win, they are the best chance of beating Baltimore. And that's why I asked who wanted to win. So when we're talking about the AFC Championship game, you have very two prolific offenses that are going to score points. However, I'm going to read off some times of Baltimore in close games because this will be a close game.
And I just want to point out, and I'm going to let you go right back and let you cook. What's the issue with greatness? New show loading. Check that out when we're done here. Uncle Rico on the Ruler's Minute will have something for you. Breaking news on the pod. Yes. I love it.
Let me give some things.
Go ahead.
So this is going to be a one-score game. Baltimore has not, in this playoffs, been in a close game. They blew out Houston. They weren't close, all right? During the regular season with Baltimore, a 27-1 score games, 27-24 win over the Bengals. Good. A 22-19 loss over the Colts. A 17-10 loss over the Pittsburgh Steelers. A 33-31 loss to the Cleveland Browns. And then a 17-10 loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the same way that I said that when it comes down to it, Buffalo at the end of the day, when they get into the tough times, cannot perform, but the Chiefs can. I think the same applies here. I'm going to stick with my Super Bowl pick. I'm going to say the Chiefs upset Baltimore in Baltimore. I think they go to another Super Bowl, and I think all of you, even me a little bit, is going to get annoyed with the Taylor Swift coverage that we are going to get for 2 weeks.
Ooh, yeah, 2 weeks of nonstop Swift. Like she might get pigeonholed into being part
because they're not talking. Unless Detroit makes it, they're not talking about San Francisco. It is going to be Chiefs 24/7 the entire time.
They're gonna let her sing the national anthem.
Yeah,
They're gonna replace
probably.
the national anthem singer just so she can sing "Shake It Off" instead of the
They're they're
national
gonna
anthem.
they're gonna say
Um,
they're gonna replace Usher because Usher is the halftime performer.
no, you will not. Okay,
When
you,
when the
you
last
will.
time Usher put out a
I
decent
don't care.
song?
Well, first of all, there will be no Usher slander on this podcast,
hey,
youngin,
hey, hey.
youngin.
He
Second
he
of all,
told he told T-Pain he was a disgrace to the music industry, and that will not be tolerated. Okay,
I
because
understand that
T-Pain,
we are also pro T-Pain on this pod, but listen,
exactly.
young man, there'll be no young man slandering of Usher. Okay, I will take all them dance moves that ain't looking like dance moves anymore, and I want it all. Okay, all right, all right, I want it my way. Okay,
Backstreet Boys.
all right, no, he likes it my way. I was gonna keep going, but I can't repeat any of Usher's early lyrics on the
That's
podcast.
also very true.
Parents are listening. You're disgusting. Hi. Oh, I guess I should talk about this game, huh?
Yeah.
I'm running into two big strong things here. And that is, like I said, I like to repeat this. This will be one of our first TikToks as well. Sports are about numbers and stats and statistics, and they're also about wearing maize pants and wearing green jerseys and how a team performs on the 4th October when, sometimes they have a backup quarterback who went to Boston College at the same time as somebody else. The Harbaugh thing going on this year. Michigan wins. Here's Baltimore. Can Jim or can John win like Jim did? Blah 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 blah. Can they, the Harbaugh brothers both win championships in the same year? Big trust. Lamar doing it. And then there's that Kansas City thing I talked about from the get-go. To beat a man, you got to beat the man. Kansas City doesn't die. Kansas City doesn't falter. Kansas City's always there. Ooh, this is a tough one. I'll eat it. Screw you, Jared. I ain't picking your Ravens. Let's go Kansas City.
Yeah.
I think I don't know how. I don't know how. But somehow Kansas City gets it done. And Kansas City and Detroit meet in a Super Bowl. And since we
That's
have an election coming up,
static.
why not trigger the end of the world? Detroit shocks the world and wins the Super Bowl. Hell freezes over. Pigs are flying. It's over.
Oh,
Yes. Okay. There you go. Clip that. Moving on. This crap
oh
out of here. No, not this crap.
God.
Love it. All right. Moving on to, I got to find, dude, you got graphics all over the place today. That
You're
is
welcome.
your men's college hoops. Here is your top 25 this week. UConn sitting back up there at number 1 still, as well as Purdue. As you also see, though, Drew took his kind time to put in some pluses to kind of see where some teams have been ranking. Jumping into the top 25 this week. Welcome, Colorado State and New Mexico. Bye-bye this week. TCU and Ole Miss. Wonder why TCU dropped out, Drew.
I can't even say we lost 2 in a row, so I'm not even happy anymore.
I understand. Number 19, Memphis. Your biggest drop of the week. Them and Duke taking a hit. Your Dayton Flyers. Your biggest climber. And they're like Cincy to me. They're a player, both tournament bound. Throw something in. I know you got more for me before we get to the 2 stories that I have.
Yeah, like you said, Dayton up 5, also rising up 5 spots. Auburn, they did just lose this week, so the men's it hasn't been updated obviously. But they did beat Vanderbilt by 15 and number 22 Ole Miss by 23. As well, Texas Tech moved up 5 spots, beating number 20 BYU by 7. Like you said, Memphis fell and Duke fell. Baylor also fell 6 spots after losing back-to-back games to Kansas State and Texas. So, like you said, the Big 12 just eating each other alive, and it's always a good time to watch some Big 12 basketball.
Yeah, dude, I mean, college basketball in general. I've been missing my NBA stuff because I've been so focused on how good college basketball has been between the men and women's that, yeah, like I said, it's why I haven't talked about the NBA. First of all, you need to go watch Jay Rich and get your NBA coverage from there. And secondly, I'm not going to talk about something I ain't watching and I ain't researching. Going to point out Terrence Shannon Jr. returned after a judge allowed him to play and take down the Fighting Illini, or helped the Fighting Illini take down Rutgers, a top player there. And my story, this graphic out of here. Tulane Officials have condemned a fan, are investigating a fan who put his hands on standout Memphis forward David Jones after Tulane's upset win. I've seen the video, okay? And he attempted to give him a little pat on the back with a fake "good job, guy." I absolutely wish David Jones would have gone full LeGarrette Blunt and just absolutely just rocked that kid. Steven Jackson, that garbage, 100%. If that's a student, tuition gone, mommy and daddy's money wasted, prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I think this happens a little too often. I think fans, when they're not, when they're in that kind of environment, they think that they can kind of do whatever they want to athletes and that they kind of see them as entertainment and not as people. And so I think it's the same thing. I think this guy was obviously seeing him as entertainment and someone that he can kind of just do whatever he wanted and not think about how he was feeling in that moment.
And it literally was just one of those like, oh, good job. Don't touch people, man.
No, exactly. And I think that's the thing is like you see this all the time in that you see Russell Westbrook always get into it with fans because they say the most heinous shit to him. And he goes, no, we're going to talk about this because you're not going to say that stuff to me. And I think it's the same thing. I think, if the kid comes out and, actually, is upset and talks to the guy and they can actually form, then that's cool. But, obviously that's a whole different scenario. And I think obviously in general, that stuff just shouldn't be tolerated.
That 100%. Don't touch people.
They're people.
Touch people. Don't touch people. And don't touch athletes and think that you're going to get away with it because they're not allowed to touch you. I've told you this before and I've said it on the pod. I'm pro Russell Westbrook in general, and I'm pro how Russ handles fans. The one I saw the other day of him telling the guy to come here and say it to him, and the guy walked down there and was like, you suck. Yeah. Not here for it. Not here for it. I love it. But stay off. Well, let me ask you a question. You've been a part of 2 court stormings, okay? One on the football side and one on the basketball side. One, did you come near any players? Just curious. And was there any kind of you've seen it firsthand and how it can happen? Like, were you conscious of that, number one? And number two, was there at any point you realized oh, I could have easily bumped in or done this, but I'm not about to do that. Not saying you would have anyways, but
yeah. So I would say I've been to 3 stormings, 2 for Cincinnati football and 1 for basketball. And I'm setting the stage here. Relax. The 2 for football, the way they enter is the complete opposite side of the student section. So there was no way of us to touch it. But the basketball one, they have to come across right next to where the students come out. So there was during that TCU game, when we hopped the railing, we got out, TCU players were right there. And for a split second, obviously you're all pumped up. You want to, talk stuff and da-da-da. But then, any normal human being thinks about it and goes, no, that's disrespectful. You're not getting
my team. I'm here for my team.
Exactly. You are not getting enjoyment out of them losing. You are getting enjoyment out of your team winning. And I think that's the difference between some people and the people that just wanted there to have fun. And then these incidents, they want to have more, I guess, fun in their eyes by putting down those other players. And that's not okay. Like I said, anybody could have easily touched, grabbed, punched, talked to these players, but no one did because we understand that that's not the right thing to do. During Texas, if, when you're storming the court and maybe you put a little horns down, not in their face, but just in general.
Texas's coach would not appreciate that.
Yeah, well, Texas coach is a little crybaby. That's all I'm going to say. Listen, I was at the Texas game at UC. He was a crybaby.
The Big 12's coming out of you, baby.
But if you want to put a horns down, not in their face, but if you as they're walking by and you're walking by, you go like that. That's one thing. But any sort of just engagement when you didn't even play the basketball game, you're kind of just a fan there. That's just something that's disrespectful and shouldn't be tolerated. And we all knew that when we stormed the court because there was no incidents.
Absolutely. Once again, we are pro court storming on the Straub Bros Sports Show, but we're antagonizing and talking to the other player. I think that's basic, but there's a lot we're not even gonna go there. Now, I want viewer discretion is advised. I want to forewarn everyone who is about to watch the next clip.
Oh my God.
It is violent.
My God.
I want to make people aware. Before we get to the women's top 25, we have to talk about this Caitlin Clark incident.
Yeah. And here I will set the stage here.
Please.
So Ohio State and number 2 Iowa are playing. Ohio State comes up, gets the upset, and the fans start storming the court.
An underrated team. A common theme this
In
week.
the top 25? Yeah.
Yes, and a common theme we have on the Straub Bros Sports Show this week. Court storming.
Like we'll see later, our highest riser in women's basketball this week. And so they storm the court.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark is obviously upset, trying to leave the court, and the incident proceeds here. I have 2 clips here. I want to show you the first one to a little wide angle, and then we'll get the close.
I just want to point out, Your Honor, that he's already framing this as he said she's upset, she's trying to get off the court. Nobody said it shouldn't be.
I mean, you are losing. You lost the game. You are upset that you lost.
Gotcha.
So here we go. We'll look at this clip here
Like
as they come in. Oh, here we rewind it.
That's okay.
Here we go. So obviously, she gets help and stuff like that. So, initially it looks like a pretty good collision. It looks like she, takes a hit and goes down. I want us to look at the closer angle to this. Now, let's rewind this real quick. I get that she might have been hurt, she might have hit something. But I feel like the media, especially when the incident happened, is massively blowing this out of proportion. She got into a collision. She probably just got her bell rung, not a concussion, just got a little bit of thing, shook it up, and then was taken off the court. But people are vehemently screaming that this is why rushing the court shouldn't be a thing. This is why yada, yada, yada. She wasn't hurt. As you can, she went during the press conference. She put,
thankfully.
Anyways, she said that she wasn't hurt. There was no injury sustained. This happens more often than not in a lot of these types of things where guys get bumped, and they get escorted out. This was a small incident that is getting blown way out of proportion. And I think we all need to just take a chill pill and calm the hell down.
Okay, first of all, I'll be serious for a second, and then I'll be truthful. One of the, and this is just honesty, okay? We, for the most part, as a society and as sports fans, and if you even break it down even further, a lot of us men do not like to see our female athletes in collisions and knocked down and stuff like that. It was one of the reasons the UFC was not willing to bring in women UFC fighters for the longest time, is because they didn't think that people wanted to see women be beaten up and hurt like that. Okay. So that is one of the reasons the media blew it up, is because whenever we see that with a woman, it does get blown up. Now, I do also want to point out the Tulane story that I made a joke about was in the top it was in ESPN's feed. So when this does happen on the male side too, we talk about it, and it's the biggest player in women, one of the biggest players in women's college basketball. Okay. You can now name 3 to 4: Reese, Buckner, Clark. Okay, we can keep going, but those are your big 3. Reese, I would say Reese and Clark are your 2. So she's gonna get that attention anyways. Okay, so that is a big part of it, and we're also being honest. Me and you, the way we talk about women's college basketball, we do not put it below the men in any way. I actually have been enjoying more of the women's games than the men's game this year. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not blowing no smoke. I don't need to do that. So we want to treat them fairly. We're treating them fairly. A lot of us are looking at that Caitlin Clark video and going, okay, she kind of flopped. There's also a section, though, that is like, hey, these are also girls. These are also women. I don't want to see them run into. Now, I'm pretty sure that was another female student that she ran into.
It was a female Ohio State fan that was rushing the court, yes.
100%. I know we shouldn't do this, but what if one of the football players decided to go, or just some big dude decided to be at the game and wasn't paying attention? and ran into Caitlin Clark like that, who's not built like a 6-foot Cincinnati basketball player or TCU basketball player who probably would have done more damage to your brittle butt than you would have done to him. I'm just like,
No, yeah, I get you.
that plays a part in this, whether or not we
Yeah.
want to accept that or talk about that.
No, and that's
however, another unacceptable, vicious, blatant attack on a college superstar. This student should be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, tuition revoked. I had to do it for both. No,
yeah,
I like, and she flopped. Yeah, you know what? No offense. There isn't a basketball player in the entire world who doesn't right now. Okay.
But like, also, like, think about it. You are running, trying to get off the court. You're not paying attention, and some lady runs full steam into your shoulder. You kind of brace, and you kind of get taken off. Like
They've also,
yeah,
not my words. One of
who flops running off the court? That seems unlikely to me.
But you call it a flop. They're now teaching them to, when they get hit, to move the face and stuff away too, to avoid some of these broken noses and stuff like that too. So it's a move that everyone does. If only Caitlin Clark was flopping, I'd understand. Okay. But that's
like, also, like, it seems unlikely. She probably just lost her balance to hit, and it just happens.
100%.
We'll get it in there when we show the women's top 25. Put it down.
He just wanted to let you know. Well, hold on. Before you do that, one more quickly. Let's talk about TCU. The TCU men. The TCU men had an issue, and then these poor TCU girls. I truly feel bad for this. They have been destroyed by injuries. They added 4 walk-ons this week after they had to forfeit 2 games because they had 6 girls available to play a basketball game. Sedona Prince out indefinitely. Jaden Owens, Deaja Turner, both out for the year. I want to give some shout out here. Sarah Sylvester, a 6'3" volleyball player. Piper Davis, Ella Hamlin, Micaiah Moore, all guards. Went out for tryouts, are now a part of the team. Good luck to them on TCU. Shout out to you girls for literally shooting your shot and getting your shot. Like, literally shooting your shot. Go ahead.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, yeah, listen, that always sucks. Just with injuries and stuff. So go for them. Hopefully they can finish out the season somewhat strong. And, there's always next year, as the Cleveland saying always goes.
Oh, wow. That was dirty. Putting it back up now. Go Irish. You see my girls up 4 spots this week, my guy.
Yeah. Listen, doing really well. Like I said earlier, Ohio State's your biggest jump with +6 after beating Maryland and, as I said, number 2 Iowa. But if we're talking fallers here, Florida State dropped 8 spots after losing to Syracuse, and USC, Louisville, and Virginia Tech all dropped 5 spots in their losses. But there is one team, not the highest one, but it has really surprised me the past couple of times. Kansas State, not a blue blood in the women's basketball team, up 3 spots to number 4, 19-1, absolutely crushing it right now. And they are a team that, is not a team that wins constantly in women's basketball, but is looking really, really fun.
Strabo, did we share notes this week?
No, I hopped on 5 minutes before we started the show.
Here's the top of my college women's basketball. Kansas State, moving up to 4th. Their best ranking in 21 years. So I absolutely wanted to give them a shout out as well. But we got to talk about something else, man. You see that 17-0.
I told you, man.
South Carolina.
Last week I told you.
Listen, South Carolina continue, and you absolutely did. There's your clip. All right, he told you last week, okay? And Nick said, who's their leading scorer? And he said, all of them. Both of them. Which one? All of them. The whole bench. The whole starter. Everybody. South Carolina continues to remind us that while the field is deep, Caitlin Clark is a monster. LSU are the Monstars, okay, with all of their star players. UCLA, USC, Stanford kind of letting you know the Pac-12, the Pac-3 always has hoops talent. Notre Dame, the only team outside of UConn and Tennessee and South Carolina recently to actually win a national championship, multiple national championships. South Carolina women Gamecocks are the measuring stick in women's college basketball right now. Period. End of story. We're going to continue to talk about them like that because they deserve to be talked about like that. Period. End of story. Put some respect on those girls' names because they are absolutely, and not in a watered down, weakened field either. They are beating up and they are dominating, and this is a deep field. Now, obviously, we got the SEC championship. We have all of that and come tournament time, but right now they absolutely deserve what they got going on. Also, want to give a shout out to those West Virginia girls getting up there in that top 25. Shout out to you. And obviously, we know shout out to West Virginia this week. We're going to do some more on that next week. Okay. There's your college hoops. Let's keep it going. We know what it's time for. Am I hitting it? Yes, I am. Your honorary Straub Bro of the week. You first.
Yes. Now, I want to preface this by saying we don't really talk about NBA a lot. Just because, it's not in our realm. Go watch the Jay Rich show if you want a more in-depth thing there. However, a very crazy week of basketball happened this week. Karl-Anthony Towns, Cat, dropped 62 and was also benched in the fourth quarter because he could not shoot the basketball anymore, which is crazy in itself. However, Joel Embiid scored 70 points in the 76ers win against the Spurs. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, holy crap, like that's awesome. Like we've seen Donovan Mitchell do it. He got so much praise for it. We've seen a bunch of other stars in the past do it. But the one I saw here was a lot of the comments and a lot of just the response to this was so negative.
Yeah.
They say he is.
That's for Joel Embiid. The Jose Ramirez face.
He is a free throw merchant that I've heard that, he doesn't do anything. He didn't do anything else that game. His percentage from the field wasn't that, good. Let me throw you some stats at you here. He is the 9th individual and the 14th overall 70-point performance, which is crazy in itself. It only happened 14 times in the amount of years that the NBA has been around. Now let's talk about these games. Joel Embiid had 23 free throw attempts. He was 21 for 23. That's the 7th highest. There are 7 other games where someone had a higher free throw percentage or higher free throw attempts than him. He had 18 rebounds, which is the 5th highest, but if you take out Will Chamberlain, that's like the 2nd highest. So that's something there. He was 58.5% from the field, which I think was about the 9th highest. So Steph, again, 5 other games where there was a lower percentage. So I don't want to hear all this hate of he's not efficient. He shoots too many free throws. He doesn't do anything else. That was a special performance. And that is why he is my Straub Bro of the week, because if no one's going to give him his flowers, I will. That was an amazing performance, and it was special.
Do you know why I gave him this? Because that was a Tim Anderson knockout. That was a Tim Anderson knockout performance by Joel Embiid. And I don't bring out Jose enough. I know it's not baseball season yet, but I don't bring out Jose enough.
It's a home run pitch.
Home run pitch, baby. I have 3 because I never
Good
don't.
Lord, dude. God.
I know, and we're running long this week. Listen, I'll keep them quick. First of all, I love that you went NBA for your Straub Bros of the week. I'm going to the UFC, a sport that I love, but we don't talk about enough because you don't watch it. But that's okay. You watch it when you're with me. That would be first. Our second female Straub Bro of the week, Raquel Pennington, for winning the vacant UFC bantamweight title after originally dropping it to Amanda Nunes. No shame in that. Not many people beat her. So the GOAT, Amanda Nunes, retires. Raquel Pennington comes in, gets her belt back. Shout out to you. Dricus Duplessis. I know I probably messed that up. For dethroning Sean Strickland and winning the UFC, middleweight championship. Gonna get in trouble here, Straub. And proving that even though the UFC will allow for its athletes to use its platform for free speech and anything they want to talk about, i.e. Kobe Covington as well, they literally will let you talk about anything that you want. And that is good, bad, ugly, everything in between. But just like Kobe, you got to go in the ring and you got to back it up. And Sean did not. Great fight. You could argue Sean Strickland won the fight. I would probably, I'm not 100% sure. But a lot of smack talking back and forth, a lot of some cheap shots by both guys, a scuffle during another UFC pay-per-view fight. But yeah, so your Straub Bro of the week there for winning your fight. And your last one, quickly, Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar elected into the UFC Hall of Fame, beyond deserved. Frankie held the UFC lightweight title from 2010 to 2012, twice beating legend BJ Penn, wins over Charles Oliveira, Sean Shirk, Uriah Faber, Yair Rodriguez. An amazing resume, an amazing athlete and fighter, undersized for his weight class, and still was the man for many years. And some might not know this, originally came to fame on the MTV show True Life. True Life, I am an MMA fighter. That's where you first learned who Frankie Edgar was, before he then became a UFC monster when the UFC was not on television a lot. All love to Frankie Edgar. Much deserved. Your honorary Straub Bros of the week. We're running long, my guy. So it's time to get to the footy. Let's go. First things first, quick EPL review. I broke these down into categories. If you want to throw up, you want to throw up the table?
Yeah, I'll throw up the table.
Let's throw up the table. I broke these down into a couple categories real quick, bro. And they are goalless, the red card tie, the close game, and the big six blowouts. Quickly, Brighton 0, Wolves 0, coverage 0. Moving on.
Here we go.
Oh, there we go. That's what I was looking for. As you see there at the bottom, Brighton 0, Wolves 0.
That's why it's at the bottom.
Coverage 0. I'll recycle my jokes. I do not care. The red card tie. Sheffield United 2, West Ham 2. The game that blew my parlay for the weekend. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I had West Ham.
I watched that game live. That was wild.
An amazing game. Throw out a couple things for it if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, West Ham pretty much had control this whole game after they equalized 1-1 and then went ahead 2-1. And then out of nowhere, a tackle in the box, a red card, and a penalty drew Sheffield level. And it was in Sheffield, and the scenes were immaculate as they don't draw. They don't get many points a lot. And so it was a lot of fun to watch.
Scenes. We also talked about last week. I said it. Must point time for Sheffield United. You know what? And they went and got themselves a point. The close game, the good game actually of the weekend. Brentford 3, Nottingham Forest 2. Brentford. Returning striker Ivan Toney. We talked about it last week. Returned from a gambling suspension. And man, the gamble paid off this week as my man scored and helped Brentford to claim all 3 much needed points.
Yes.
Then
absolutely. I mean, obviously, we want to see him. We want to see him come back, and we want to see him be, himself. Because when he was there, he was a great scorer. Very much linked with other teams and stuff like that. And so it's really good to see, him get back, and let's see what happens now.
100%. He's not allowed to ever be in the Hall of Fame though, because he gambled. Love you.
Different sport.
Right. And then finally, the big six blowouts. And man, they were no joke. Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 0. A rough day for American Chris Richards in Crystal Palace, big time. And I mean a dominant display by, Arsenal. It should have been more. They ran through Palace like it was the training ground. Before we get to the bigger conversation, kind of more about Liverpool and Arsenal and the top 4. Is it time for Crystal Palace to make that change? Is that change Graham Potter?
As a Chelsea fan, I want to just remove myself from that conversation because he really didn't inspire me a lot. He has a great system, and so maybe at a Crystal Palace it would work when you don't have as big of a fan base. However, I couldn't tell you. I think that he had a very bad taste in his mouth when he left English football, and so we'll see if he comes back with any kind of thing there.
I don't think Graham Potter is a big six club guy. I think he should have stayed at Brighton. I think that's where he should have honestly stayed. And I think Crystal Palace is a great spot for him. And I think he will turn them around.
That's
make
fair.
that higher. Make that higher. And that's no disrespect to Roy.
Not at all.
Roy, Crystal Palace manager Roy Hodgson, a legend, but in his older years, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 0. I mean, damn, dominant in front of goal, but Bournemouth had no real answers. But this was a good back and forth game. It wasn't as dominant as Arsenal and Crystal Palace, where it was more dominant in front of goal. Our Liverpool, bigger picture, our Liverpool, the front runner, a minimum of 2 points ahead of City. They will be no matter what happens this weekend. Impressive form. City are not the unbeatable machine they are. Think it's fair to ask.
Yeah. I mean, it is very fair to ask. I mean, honestly, this Liverpool run is very reminiscent of their run when they won the title a couple of years ago. And so it's always tough to root against, not to root, but to pick against City because of just their dominance. However, if a team this year is going to do it, I think it's Liverpool, because I don't think any other team has the, honestly, for lack of a better word, has the cojones to continue to win despite a long season with multiple other tournaments going on.
Got you. I don't disagree. We've got some FA Cup, baby. It is FA Cup weekend.
Hold on. We have some League Cup matches to talk about because I want this to come in. So I will talk about this. Obviously, you have Liverpool drawing with Fulham 1-1, but as we talked about previous, they beat Fulham in the first leg 2-1, and they will advance 3-2 to the League Cup final. Now, I'm pretty sure you're asking yourself, even though it's on the screen, who is the other team that is going into the League Cup final? That, my friends, is your Chelsea Blues. After a pretty disappointing performance in the first leg, losing 1-0 to Middlesbrough away, we had an absolute dominant performance at home. It was a 6-1 win. Immediately from the jump, we looked so much different than what we usually do. And by that, I mean that we typically come out flat. We can't do anything. We can't score. We scored from the jump. We looked absolutely phenomenal. And I think while this team doesn't have the consistency to challenge for anything this year, a trophy, I think, is the best thing that this team could come up with this year. And I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. I know you probably don't have anything on this, but I wanted to see if you had anything to say about this.
I'll say the same thing I said last week, and I'll eat it this week. Middlesbrough, coached by Manchester United midfield legend Michael. So I gave it to you when he beat you.
Real quick, before we hop over to the other results. Here is your table so far. Any topics, anything you want to discuss before we talk about the week coming up?
Well, no, we have to talk about the FA Cup, and then we will talk about this coming up. So real quick, I do want to point out for the FA Cup that is going on this weekend, Bournemouth beat up on Swansea City today, 5-0 by Swansea City. It was good for you to be there. Yeah. Some big games that we have coming up this weekend in terms of that FA Cup. There he is. We've got Chelsea and Villa. Your Blues back in with a Premier League matchup. Spurs versus Manchester.
Here we are.
Spurs versus Manchester City. Everton versus Luton Town. Leicester versus Birmingham City. Sheffield United, Brighton, and Fulham, Newcastle. Those are your Prem versus Prem or bigger team matchups. But, Drew, we've got some giant slayers in the making because some small town clubs will emerge. Sheffield Wednesday and Coventry City will play, so we're going to get a small team out of there. Ipswich Town and Maidstone United? Sure. Leeds United and Plymouth Argyle. Watford and Southampton. Newport and small club Manchester United. Blackburn versus America. That'll get clipped. Blackburn versus America's team, Wrexham, and our American Josh Sargent and Norwich City take on Liverpool. Those starred games that you see on the screen include your Americans abroad, which we will get
Yes.
to in a second.
Of course. But yeah, that's what I was going to say. We're kind of testing something out here as we do our previews. The bold games are kind of games we think that you should really watch if you just want to watch some good soccer, some really, big games. And then if you want to watch some Americans, those are the ones that are starred. I star them next to the actual team that they're with. Like you said, Josh Sargent in Norwich, possibly Matt Turner in goal for Nottingham Forest. So those are two games that if you want to watch an Americans, those are the ones you want to look out for.
Absolutely. Okay. No, I do not. There wasn't anything else I wanted to talk about. Let's put that table up and let's get to this weekend. Your midweek preview. These games will not be this weekend. These games will be during the midweek. For me, obviously, Manchester United or Wolves, I am in a desperate need for 3 points with everything that I've got going on with my club right now. But your big game, obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool. Number one at the top of the Premier League takes on mid-level Chelsea, but still a big game. Chelsea have showed up for all their big 6 games this year. I'm not gonna give you any slack on that, bro.
I
But
appreciate that.
no, absolutely. Everton Fulham is another big one. We're rooting for Everton, but Sheffield United and Crystal Palace. Sheffield United coming off that big draw, Crystal Palace coming off that bad loss, and then Bournemouth and West Ham. West Ham, a result they should not have had. They should have had 3 points in the bag. And Bournemouth coming out of that debacle of performance against Liverpool. Something you want to point out?
I think that Newcastle Aston Villa game is going to really test Aston Villa. That's why I have it bolded, because if Aston Villa can't beat Newcastle, I think their run in even competing for a top spot, I think they can crack top 4. But in a top 1 or 2 spot, if they can't beat Newcastle here, I think that's your biggest issue. And I want to put this out here. Liverpool and Chelsea have not won. Neither team has won in regulation in 2 years. And we have played, obviously, both home and away league games. This counts cup matches in the FA Cup and in the League Cup. So if you are a smart bettor, you will put a draw on this game, because it seems that these teams cannot escape a draw with one another. This could change now that both teams are kind of on the upswing. This might be more of an attacking game. In recent matches, it used to be 1-1 or 0-0, but the smart money is on a draw here, and so I think that's a massive game.
Okay, so here's what you want to do. Take that Chelsea-Liverpool draw. Hear me out. Go with a Arsenal win. Throw Manchester City in there. Throw Spurs in there. Yes, I know. And throw Manchester United in there. And put that parlay together with that draw, and let's go to the bank together, baby. All right, okay. Or we'll call 1-800-GAMBLER together. One of the two. All right. Before we get, and yes, there is your updated table as we talked to you about last week about games in hand. Manchester City, like I said, even with a win, will only still be 2 points behind Liverpool. So it's 38 game season.
We're getting down to it.
We're getting down to it. So it is gut check time. It is point time. As my lowly Manchester United are now neck and neck with your mid Chelsea as we both battle for the Brothers Cup, which the Straub Bros Sports Show gets. I don't know what, but we get to brag about who's better. I love that I'm in blue and you're in red this week. That's actually kind of funny. All right. So before we get to the People's segment, I have one else for you. And that is I'm going to overtake the United Blues for just 1 second to talk about Ken's former Manchester United player news. And that would be a quick one to former Manchester United striker Javier Hernandez, otherwise known as Chicharito, returned home to his boyhood club of Chivas in Mexico. Best of luck on your deserved ride-off and farewell into your kind of last couple of seasons there in Liga MX. Big time player at Manchester United. Big stops at Manchester United, where we bought him from Guadalajara. 37 goals, none bigger than ones in the Champions League. Played for Real Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, the LA Galaxy, but United goals, a big game player and a big game scorer. Some I personally do remember winner against Wolves in the League Cup, a Champions League winner against Valencia. He scored against Chelsea in a big Champions League semifinal, a great comeback win against Chelsea where he netted the winner. Another game against Chelsea where he's
Chicharito, like
owned.
he owned us, and it was the most frustrating thing. And
Go ahead. Oh,
no, he just killed us.
The best thing about soccer is to just scream about and be able to enjoy your players. And listen, there was no one who enjoyed screaming Chicharito more than me. I love that man so much. A two-time Premier League winner, Community Shield winner, and internationally, since we do talk about our United States men's national team, joint top scorer all time for Mexico, Gold Cup winner, three-time World Cup player. And man, when he put El Tree's uniform on, I was afraid. You were afraid. We didn't want no smoke.
Yes, I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Speaking of.
Okay. Drew, you have United States men's national team news. Break it.
Yes. So, as we talked about last week, the United States men's national team was in a January camp, and they played Slovenia. However, they also played a closed-door friendly. No one was allowed to watch, even though there was videos, against the Argentinian team River Plate. Unfortunately, both games did not go the United States men's national team's way. They drew 2-2 against River Plate and lost 1-0 against Slovenia. In these kind of camps, no one's really worried about the results. They're looking at performances with these young guys because these are guys that are not going to make the team right away. They're looking for guys that can maybe potentially break in a year down the line, something like that. And we did get some of that. Diego Luna, as I think I've talked about a little bit before, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name because he's 18 years old and I'm not going to be able to do it. Esmir Bajrakarevich, 18-year-old, first camp.
Better than I would have done.
And Jack McGlynn. They did have moments, but they obviously showed a lot of their youth. However, I think this is a time that we all hate doing, but also love doing at the same time. I am going to talk about Greg Berhalter. Watching some of the clips of the River Plate game that were released and also watching the entirety of the loss to Slovenia, I think the main issue here, as it seems Greg's system is only effective when the team is either level, tying 0-0, 1-1, or is winning. If they are losing a game, there is no attacking mindset. So when you don't have your first team players to make chances for themselves, tactics are crucial. And when you have a very young team that is very going to be susceptible to giving up a goal, and you have a tactical style that doesn't give you any attacking flow, that is your massive issue. We saw it with this. We saw it when we went down to the Netherlands, that we couldn't get anything going. This is an issue here, and I think that speaks less about the players because a lot of these players aren't going to be in your first squad in the national team. This is more about your system because it's the same system that Greg employs when he has the first team national team. And when you are playing a Germany, a France, where we want to be, you cannot play this kind of mindset where you're going to have all the possession because Netherlands gave us the entire possession and they counterattacked and whooped us.
I've had enough rants this week. I am not. My voice is running out. I'm not about to add a Greg Berhalter rant in the middle of this. So I'm not going to touch that because you said it well enough. We will handle that at another time. But I do agree with you. It doesn't work. Now,
yes,
Drew, give
the
people the update they have been waiting all week for. Americans abroad. Finish it out.
Yes. So we get to the fun stuff finally.
Pause. I have next to me my chosen MLS team. Do you want me to debut it now or do you want me to save it?
Let's save it. I want to wait until we do an MLS preview.
It's fine.
Let's do that.
Americans abroad. I apologize.
Beautiful. So we're gonna get some highlights of here, and then we're also gonna get some news because I do have some news out of the Americans as well. But first, we'll hit with the highlights. Firstly, a player that we've heard from recently and continues to catch fire again after his injury, Josh Sargent. A goal, his second in 3 games in the championship. The injury obviously did not affect his form. He is killing it right now, doing great. Next, another goal from another person that you are going to love. Gianluca Busio has gotten another goal.
Busio!
He now ties Tanner Tessman with 4 goals in Serie B. Both are pretty non-attacking center mids, so that is an awesome stat to see that you were getting a bunch of assists, a bunch of goals, doing great. Next, I wanted to put this in the goal category. It's technically an assist. Weston McKennie.
Oh,
I put air quotes in the assist because if you go back and watch the clip, he heads the ball. It is on target to goal. However, Juve striker Dusan Vlahovic tapped it in as it crosses the line, a rule that everyone agrees should not be broken because that costs players money sometimes, but it also is just exciting to celebrate your own goal and not an assist.
Right.
But I'm going to count it as a goal just because I think he should have gotten it.
The best way to explain this is let's pretend that the rule in the NFL was if a guy runs into the end zone in front of the guy who is carrying the ball, he gets the touchdown. And all of a sudden there's a breakaway and the guy is running and a teammate purposely runs in front of him to claim his touchdown. That is the equivalent of what happened here. It was Weston McKennie's goal and he absolutely robbed it, but all good. Weston is on fire. And the Italian press is all over our American boys and showering them in praise and giving them the respect that they deserve.
Absolutely great.
Full circle.
Yes. Another goal, and so similar to Josh Sargent, Jordan Pefok again has scored from Mönchengladbach, looking really, really good. Finally coming back into form after being benched for a long time. His second goal. Please just continue. I think he has a lot of upside there. Looking great. Another goal, and technically his first goal of the season. This happened yesterday. Brandon Vasquez. His first goal since his transfer from FC Cincinnati to Monterrey, as he starts his campaign off really hot. Obviously, there's been talk of him and the Mexican national team, but I think for now he is one of us, and I think that is a really good start off to a really good campaign. As I miss him dearly in Cincinnati, he is a really good goal scorer.
We know about this, but one of the biggest strengths recently of the United States men's national team is tapping in to our dual citizens. It absolutely is why we are now competing in any way that we are, is because of that. But the downfall is now that we've started to get a little deeper in positions that we normally were not, Florian Balogun, basically who I am talking about here, normally if you take Florian out, Vasquez is 2, 3 option. You have Josh Sargent, depending on where you play him. You have Ricardo Pepi, and then
it's kind of like whoever's hot. Yeah.
Right. So Vasquez is in there. I really, 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 truly hope he sticks with us. I really do. I don't blame him if there's more opportunity and he does jump ship. I understand that, especially now that he's playing in Mexico. Like, that is going to be immense pressure, and but we'll see what happens. That's going to be on Greg to make the right call-ups, which he usually doesn't do. So we'll see what happens there. I wasn't getting out of this without taking a Greg shot. Okay, so go ahead. Finish strong.
So those are the goals. We do have some assists though. Serginho Dest, I feel like I say this every week. Another assist, another goal involvement. PSV keep cruising in the Eredivisie. They are running away with it. And Luca de la Torre, another assist.
Luca!
He stays hot, and I feel like he's the only one trying on that Celta de Vigo team right now. They are just above the relegation zone, and he is single-handedly keeping them up at this point. Those are your goal involvements. However, there is some other news. Right now, we're going to start off with some good news. We're going to start off with some neutral news, and we're going to end with some really weird kind of bad news. So your first news, which is the good news. Johnny Cardoso, someone that we talked about a lot when we started this podcast, but really didn't talk about for a while. Why was that? He has now completed his transfer to Real Betis in La Liga from the Brazilian League, started this weekend, played 73 minutes against FC Barcelona. really good performance. Going straight into the starting 11 is really impressive, especially someone coming from a Brazilian team and not one of the top 5 leagues. Hopefully we continue to go because that kid has a lot of potential.
Love it. Love it.
Yes. The middle news, we talked about this last week. Gio Reyna, he is most likely on his way out of Dortmund. We've heard reports that 2 teams he has agreed to personal terms with. And if you don't know how soccer works, you agree to your contract with the player, and then you agree the fee that you have to pay the club. Dortmund has not accepted or heard from any club about a thing yet. They're negotiating offers right now. However, Gio Reyna has agreed personal terms with 2 clubs, Premier League side and Matt Turner's club, Nottingham Forest, and French club Marseille. Both are really good clubs. I think that we saw him going more towards a Spanish or Dutch side to kind of get his thing going. But I think both, maybe more Marseille than Nottingham Forest, I think both are good ideas if he wants to get playing time, which he is not at Dortmund.
We 100% disagree on this. I think Marseille is the only option. I think going to Nottingham Forest is a career mistake. I think it could be a huge setback for him. I don't think Nottingham Forest is going to slot him right into a starting position. They are in the Premier League, which is a tougher, more physical league. And let's be real, we are talking about a player who, for the most part, is injured every 6 months. Okay, this is not an exaggeration. This is not me making fun. This is just the facts about Gio Reyna. He is injured every year, if not every 6 months, and he's going to go play in one of the most physical leagues in the entire world. I think that's a horrible decision. On top of the fact that Nottingham Forest are facing a point deduction, which will easily knock them into the relegation zone if that is determined. And the way we saw them run through Everton's quickly in that decision could be handed down probably sooner rather than later. And that could really affect where Nottingham Forest is trying to do. And I just don't like that situation. Just too many negatives on the club side for me to want Gio Reyna to go there. I also don't think it's a fit play style wise and playing wise. I want him to go to Marseille. I want him to go to Italy. I want him to go somewhere else. We'll see. Good luck to you, Gio. You're one of the most talented guys we've got, so I hope this works out. We will see what happens there.
Yes, I get your point there. Alrighty. The final news before we call it, after this very overrun episode, we had a lot to talk about news-wise. I think that was the major issue there.
I didn't stop talking either.
Spartak Moscow, if you don't know who that is or what that is, it's a club in Russia. Reportedly offered FC Dallas a $15 million move to MLS club FC Dallas for Jesus Ferreira. Jesus Ferreira had agreed on personal terms, and it was reported that FC Dallas was ready to accept the offer. However, the Major League Soccer, MLS, stepped in and denied the move. When asked about it, a representative from the MLS was quoted as saying, "There are risks for American business entities doing business with Russian entities." Now, I want to say this is not the first time that MLS has done this. They blocked a sale from Red Bull to Lokomotiv Moscow in 2022 for a non-American player. And the owner of Spartak Moscow has been under U.S. sanctions since 2014. So obviously we can see that we like to think that sports can get away from politics, but a lot of times it can't. This is a very, very interesting thing here, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I'm going to tiptoe this a little bit just because we're not here to talk politics. I don't care who you vote for, I really truly don't. If we wanted to have the Straub Bros political podcast, we could do that some other time, whenever. But that's just saying, it's not what I'm here for. We like to keep our sports to our sports, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. We talk about the Ukraine games, stuff like that. So some of it is unavoidable. You can't just avoid these kind of topics. I wish we could have I wish our podcast was going on during COVID and we were able to talk about some of the big things that were going on in sports then. But this is a tough one because nowhere. I mean, we're dealing with this in soccer all around. There is a Saudi-owned league. There are some things that have happened with the Saudi Arabian government, and media outlets, and their human rights laws and things like that have made a lot of people say you shouldn't do business with Saudi Arabia. You shouldn't play in Saudi Arabia. Stuff like that. I mean, there's an English soccer player, Jordan Henderson, who left. Jordan Henderson was notorious for wearing a rainbow armband as a captain's man. He had to stop doing that when he played in Saudi Arabia because they don't allow that kind of stuff. So we deal with this in soccer, where the transfer of players going there has come under criticism from fans and pundits and stuff like that. So I'm used to the criticism, but this is, I mean, strange in the fact that no one is stopping any of these players in Europe from going anywhere they want, whether it be to Russia, whether it be to Saudi Arabia. So it is strange to see that happen, and I don't want to alienate anyone, and I don't want to overstep my boundaries here. But at the same time, like, I also kind of feel like the United States, the MLS, is allowing government and politics to kind of play a role into sports that I don't necessarily feel like it should be. And there are a lot of people who also made the comparison, hey, once you saw what happened with Brittany Griner, why would you go and play in Russia? I would say the one thing that would be very different about that is he is a soccer player, and soccer players are 100% treated differently than the female basketball players would be treated, not just including all of the things that went against Brittany Griner in terms of how they treat African Americans, how they treat people of the LGBT community in Russia. Like, regardless of how you feel about that stuff, it's not nice. So those things are not the same comparison, because Jesus Ferreira would go through some of that, but some of it honestly would slide because he's a good soccer player, and that's unfortunate. So I don't know. It's a tough situation. It really, really is. I feel bad for Jesus, because if this is a chance for Jesus to make life-changing money for his family and generations of his family, who Jesus has talked about, immigrated to this country and went through tough times to sacrifice to get him to where he is at. So to deny him a bag, we talk about all the time on this podcast, guys getting bags. So to be denied a bag because our countries don't get along right now, it sucks. So if they're going to deny him that MLS, if you're going to deny him that, then somebody needs to give this man a pay raise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I hope I tiptoed enough landmines there.
No, you were good. And like I said, it's a very tough situation because, this is hard because, like I said, the guy is under sanctions. The team has always kind of had a very interesting feel about it. But you kind of hit the nail on the head. This is something where Jesus Ferreira, either because he wants his career to kind of move ahead, or he wants, be able to provide his family with financial stability. It's hard to tell a guy no because of things that are outside of his control.
Right.
And so it's very, very tough. But I will say that this is not unusual, I think, for the MLS. And so this can't be something that we're all up in arms for because they've done this before,
Right.
And
there's precedent, but make up for it. That's all I'm saying. That's all. A lot.
Pay the man.
Right. Exactly. Pay that man. Give him his bag. He deserves it. Okay.
Get paid.
Well, what a show. Great show. Post pod Straub Bros Sports Show, sneaking into the actual pod show. Great job this week, bro. Great show this week. Pull some logos down, get some stuff together. Like I said, you know who we are. Here's everybody else. New episode of Outside Interference, like I said, has dropped as he sat down with members of EFW. The second episode of the Jay Rich Show has dropped. Check it out. Get your NBA news from Jay Rich and Rico, but Jay Rich too. He talked about the Cavs outlook as we get towards the All-Star break, and Eastern and Western Conference talk as well. Like I said, you want to hear basketball, you want to talk basketball, you want to listen to basketball, you check out the Jay Rich Show. Also, multiple episodes of the Rulers Minute has dropped this week. Like I said, Tristan Thompson news, Josh Allen news, some Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce fun. So go and follow all of us there on the 216 Sports Network Facebook and YouTube page. Like and follow us on the Facebook page. follow and subscribe on the YouTube page as well. While you're there, click over to the Straub Bros Sports Show playlist where you can find all of our old episodes. You can jump back into the college football season where I made a lot of great predictions. Absolutely got some stuff just absolutely nailed on the head and absolutely made some boneheaded predictions as well. Fun stuff to go back and look at and to listen to us try to get our footing. We have some fun stuff. Also, like I also said, be on the lookout. Coming soon when I get my stuff together, you will be able to find the Straub Bros Sports Show on Spotify and Apple. You'll be able to download the audio version, potentially the video version first. We're going to start with the audio. Yeah, there's going to be some kind of missteps along the beginning, older episodes when we didn't realize we were going to put this in audio form. But you'll be able to take us with us in the car, at the job, at the doctor's, at the daycare, on your machine, while you're saving a life if you're a doctor, whatever you need. On the beach, wherever you take your podcast, you can take the Straub Bros Sports Show with you. So, but make sure you rock with us at 5:15 for the next couple of weeks while this guy deals with, his teacher pushing his class back.
Play my professor.
Absolutely. So 5:15, your new starting time for the next couple of weeks while we get rolling there. Man, great job. So that has been the Straub Bros Sports Show. For little bro, Andrew Straub, I am big bro, Ken Straub, reminding you to always love yours.
Have a good one, everybody.